Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we take a look at the astrological energies from November 12th until November 19th. As we currently have 6 planets in retrograde until the end of this month, that's a big deal. It means that the next few weeks involve the most intense review energies of this year. So what is coming up for you to review, reconfigure, reprioritize, and reflect on that actually holds a lot of meaning around what you're finalizing in your life? It's that big. It is that big. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more in today's show in case that's really validating for you and anything that you might be moving through at this time. Now, in this podcast, I discuss astrology through an intuitive evolutionary lens. This is for multiple reasons. One, it's because we're meant to get out of our heavy reliance on the mind, logic, details, rationale. We have to navigate our lives with that focal point. But this particular podcast is meant to take you higher into your intuition, into trusting what you feel and what you sense, because this is where humanity is going. This is the direction we're heading. And I know that many of you already use this every day. In fact, it's how you've been living your life. But for those who are new to this podcast, this is something that I offer as a bridge to support you in working with these cosmic energies while remaining open to more of the vastness of your own talent, skills, and abilities. Intuitive astrology is also the way that we are moving ahead in this particular field, where we build upon the foundations and the basics. We always refer to the basics of astrology. Those are always important, but we're meant to evolve everything in our lives. And this is an exciting time because honestly, we don't know where astrology is going to go here in the next few years or even decade, but it's a guiding force that directly shows us what we're experiencing, our themes, cycles, phases. It gives us that beautiful map to what our soul is here to move through in this lifetime. And so by bringing in more of a focus on intuitive astrology, we're able to tap into some of our own internal messages and guidance that perhaps we overlook or we don't give a lot of attention to it, especially when we're in the mind so much. So it's my joy to share with you this version of astrology to support you. I'm delighted that so many of you resonate and love it, and that it's something that you're also practicing in your own life. We are all intuitive. We all have psychic gifts, and astrology can be one way that you continue to practice what you're feeling and sensing. I believe it's also a part of our awakening where we awaken to more of our innate psychic abilities, intuitive downloads, channeled messages, and so much more because of how the planets speak to us through their energetic signatures. Not to mention all of the big dynamics that are unfolding in the cosmos in our solar system right now. For example, the sun is very active this week, and we are moving through a severe geomagnetic storm. It's actually a G4 geomagnetic storm, which is a really big deal. A G4 is rated as severe, which can bring in possible widespread effects to various grid systems, disruptions to communication infrastructure. So basically, more potential glitches, instability, and inconsistencies in connecting to, say, for example, your Bluetooth device or getting internet or Wi-Fi coverage in certain areas. All of this stems from the super powerful CMEs coming from the sun. And we also have something underway that's related to the X5 class solar flare, which is called a ground level event. And a ground level event is very rare and significant because it only happens once or twice during each solar cycle. So we can see that the sun is really dynamic right now. It's really evolving and transforming. It's very alive with some powerful energetics that then get blasted onto our little blue and green marble of a planet. And not only does it affect the planet and our various infrastructures and systems, but it affects us. So the sun is blasting this energy to basically support your own transformation, to bust you through any blockages or limitations that maybe you're holding in your own personal electromagnetic field. The sun is very alive, and this is something you can consciously work with and work through, where maybe the sun is really showing you the depths of Scorpio energies you are holding. Maybe it's bringing up some really big fears, some strong emotions. Maybe there's a lot being triggered here that's actually working in your favor, because now it can no longer reside in your unconscious or in the shadow, and it's being burst forward. It's being busted out to a place that you can't ignore it. You have to see it or you have to feel it, which means you could also feel really drained, exhausted, tired, hungry. You might have more exaggerated symptoms this week with the sun being so powerful and so strong in its own metamorphosis. And metamorphosis is, of course, an energy we relate to Scorpio season. And when it's coupled with the strong CMEs and solar flares, as well as this ground level event, huge changes are underway that are actually helping us move into the next version of ourselves. It's helping us evolve at a core physical level, emotional, intuitive, and spiritual levels as well. And it feels like this is going to be playing out here to assist us with some powerful upgrades. That's how I'm feeling this. So of course, take it if it resonates for you, is that powerful upgrades are happening where Scorpio season wants us to evolve, and we're meant to move into a new version of ourselves, and the sun is deeply assisting. Now at this time, as I mentioned, we also have 6 planets in retrograde: Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Chiron, Uranus, and Neptune are all retrograde at this time, helping you slow down and assess what needs to be cleared out within me. What am I closing up at a very deep core level of my being that honestly could be so intense at times you don't know what to do with it? But this is a finishing up of a cycle that's much bigger than this particular Scorpio season, or even a different time in your life. You might feel you're moving through something so deep and so intense that you've never experienced before in your life, and it's deeply shifting you. This is a beautiful gift. This is part of the divine plan. And how I'm feeling this is that the sun in Scorpio is where we go into the dark, where only the eyes of the soul can see the frequencies that reside there. So in the darkness, your 3D eyes won't work. They won't get you very far. But you have other senses that come alive, that navigate you outside of the physical domain of the 5 senses. And it's when we tap into what the soul is seeing that we understand more that we didn't realize before. And so Scorpio season is a time to go into the depths of your multiple energy layers. And sometimes those energy layers, they get tangled up and intertwined. They get all wrapped around each other, and you lose sight of what's the real meaning here. What's the truth? What am I meant to realize? So I feel that part of Scorpio season is that the eyes of the soul guide us to what we need to untangle so that we can get into the truth of something that our soul has been guiding us to understand. It can be a very private and internal energy. Of course, it requires intentionality, consciousness, and intelligence to understand what that is for you. But Scorpio season can reconnect you to what you've lost along the way, where you have been disconnected from a part of yourself, a part of your truth, a part of your needs, and your own power. And so when we take into consideration how active the sun is, all 6 of these retrogrades, including Mercury retrograde, are unfolding, and that we're in this big Scorpio season energy, you are being guided towards a powerful upgrade in your life that could potentially change the trajectory of your life based on what you're realizing and discovering within yourself. That energy is very strong right now as we move through November, but it's strongest in the silence. It's strongest in the pause, and the retrograde planets are supporting you in slowing down, going within, listening to their messages, and becoming more aware of who you really are at a core level of your being, which has nothing to do with the external world or the chaos or energies flying around. This is about you and your soul. And the sun in Scorpio wants to guide you into that reconnection, to support you merging with the wisdom and power of your soul so that you can travel forward with it without leaving behind who you really are, what you really need, or anything that is related to the truth of your beingness. I feel it as a very deep reconfiguration is happening here. And if you were to close your eyes and just visualize those intertwined cords or parts of yourself that have been wrapped up and messed up into some convoluted expression, as you start to loosen it and soften it, there's more that starts to fall away, and it just falls away with grace and ease, and it's not even you. It's not even a part of your true essence or your true self. And I think that's part of what these retrograde planets are bringing us back to. I also think that this Mercury in Sagittarius right now is asking you to consider, what does the divine mind want you to know? What does the divine mind want you to remember about your vision for your life in this lifetime? Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius is slowing down our assumptions, what we thought mattered, our ideologies, our philosophies. It's meant to bring us into more listening and receptivity, which Mercury retrograde in any fire sign will fight against, because Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius doesn't want to slow down, wants to go forward, move ahead with the big plans, the big vision. But this is a retrograde that's meant to shift you because of what you're discovering about what you really want, not what you were told you wanted or thought you had to achieve or thought you had to experience. Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius brings you back into, what is my vision for my life? And have I gone astray? Have I taken some wrong turns that I want to correct now? And it's not only recorrecting them at a small incremental level. This is when Mercury is actually going to now pull you back into Scorpio as of November 18th and reconnect you to these messages of Scorpio season that again have been tangled up or have created some kind of tightness. I'm seeing it as like tightly bound cords or things that are, just tangled up. Maybe it's stuff in your junk drawer or all those cords that you just push away somewhere and you're like, I'll deal with that later. Oh, the Christmas lights, right? If you take out any Christmas lights for the tree or for your home or to decorate with, maybe you're getting some Clark Griswold flashbacks here, but it's like it's all tangled up. What a beautiful way to think of it. How your lights, how your talents are all tangled up. And this is a Mercury retrograde of not only detangling that mess, but there's going to be huge upgrades because of it, because of the intensity of this energy. And I feel that part of these tangled lights is that Scorpio season is a time to venture into your soul records and energetic undercurrents to remember an important understanding that matches the frequency you're in now, but it got lost in that mess of tangled up energies. So for example, this can relate to a theme that you've experienced across lifetimes that's documented in your Akashic records that you are here to evolve and experience at a whole new level in this lifetime around abundance. And this means you could be swimming or wallowing some of the lower frequencies of abundance that you've become accustomed to because you've lost sight of your soul's intention to experience that energy differently in this lifetime. So you could be stuck in, let's say, lack consciousness instead of prosperity consciousness that you know is your divine birthright and that you're here to experience. But your energy feels heavy because it's tied up and weighed down in those intertwined cords that are serving like an anchor, weighing you down in an old frequency that you're no longer meant to embody. So it can feel like you're anchored into a previous version of yourself and you're wondering, why can't I bust out of this? Why can't I move through this? Well, this is a time phase that we're in right now here in November when you can bust out of it, when you can work with the power of these retrogrades and the power of the sun to upgrade what is heavy and stagnant from a source of new empowerment. And this Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius is redirecting you back to the belief systems that are not expanding, that are not evolving or growing, as well as where you've been disconnected from your own power, that is ready for this upgrade at this time. And so it's as if you have to go backwards in order to go forwards. And I'm seeing this as a time travel adventure where you're able to go back to previous versions of yourself and observe who you were. Observe what your decisions were, what your thoughts were, what your actions were. Be the observer of yourself, almost like watching yourself on a screen in your own movie, and then looking at, that was the core decision or core action I took based on a particular belief system that now I'm ready to evolve and change. I'm just feeling there's a lot of energy here working in between dimensions, working with your ability to see yourself and witness your own journey in a new light. And that's the energy of having to go back in order to go forward. That's also the energy of the strong retrograde phase that we're in that's bringing up this intense review process. Now, on November 12th, Mercury retrograde is conjunct Mars in Sagittarius at 6 degrees. And this is where Mercury brings a message back to Mars. Now, Mars, especially in a fire sign, does not want to slow down. And Mars in Sagittarius is more restless, ready to up level, ready to go further and enter into new territory. But there is a bit of a slowdown with this Mercury retrograde conjunct Mars because Mercury is saying, don't make the same mistake twice. Look at this information I'm bringing you. Look at this message or communication that's coming through that is meant to help Mars going forward, but it will depend on how much Mars is willing to slow down and pay attention to Mercury. So on November 12th, this can be a day where you are redoing things. There's more coming up that is bringing about a pause. An intentional pause always works in your favor. That slowdown might be inconvenient and might not be what you're actively choosing, but it's happening for a reason. This could be detours, cancellations, changes in plans, last-minute delays that infringe upon your desire to move forward. Now, the good news is that in Sagittarius will find the silver lining and adapt as needed. Sagittarius can find the laughs, can find the humor, and can keep going. So if there is a hiccup midweek, if there's something that is wildly inconvenient, then it's important to pay attention to what Mercury is telling Mars, especially if something is being corrected or rewritten. Now, it is a fast-moving energy, so you might not notice it. It is happening at 6 degrees of Sagittarius in your chart. And then after the interaction with Mercury, Mars moves right ahead. Now, there are no major transiting aspects after this conjunction. We don't have anything else occurring until the Sun in Scorpio enters into the exact Grand Trine with Jupiter retrograde in Cancer at 25 degrees and Saturn retrograde in Pisces at 25 degrees. This is happening on November 16th and November 17th. And I know I've been discussing this for a while now, but I feel that it's very important, especially because it's working with these two outer planets in water signs, and we're not going to have outer planets in water signs for a number of years after this transit. So to put it into a bigger long-term perspective, Jupiter is in Cancer and Saturn is in Pisces. They're each going to move into fire signs next year, as will Neptune in Pisces, which is also in a water sign. So the water energy is highlighted right now in order to prepare us for the fast-moving developments of the fire signs that really take off in 2026 and beyond. So this makes it an even more rare Water Grand Trine because we're not going to have this energy show up again for a number of years. In fact, it won't be until Jupiter gets into Scorpio in late 2029 that we'll have outer planets in the water signs again. So that makes this particular time period and this cycle even more prominent. Now, the Sun in Scorpio is creating that Water Grand Trine. Again, it's exact November 16th and November 17th. But what I wanted to look at with this alignment is how our energy bodies and emotional bodies are changing with the new galactic frequencies. We are cleansing out the old within us. We are removing the density of the 3D even more. We are allowing our bodies to flow with higher frequencies that support our ongoing ascension with more of these crystalline light codes and allow us to move with the higher ascension energies of this time period, which is why this is such a big growth phase, because this alignment is happening at 25 degrees, which is the third decan of each water sign. And it's meant to be a place of mastery, wisdom, integration, and understanding. So let me break this down a little bit more. Jupiter is retrograde in Cancer at 25 degrees. The Cancer journey is one from maiden to mother to matriarch. Jupiter's retrograde in the area of being an evolved, fully embodied Cancer being, where there's a deep connection to your heart, your needs, your emotional foundation. You're aware of your own ancestral imprints, and you're carrying more codes of remembrance. So Jupiter is here activating this within each of us. Jupiter is at a standstill as well because Jupiter just stationed retrograde November 11th. So Jupiter is highlighting codes of remembrance around how you came here to love yourself, and perhaps that changes the trajectory of your family, your ancestors, where you've come from, who you've been, because now you're moving into more of that fully embodied matriarchal energy. Then we move into Scorpio. The sun is in that third decan of Scorpio, and the Scorpio journey is moving from fear to empowerment, from lack to trust of oneself. And you could look at Scorpio as the Persephone journey, where we go into our own underworld, perhaps against our will, and we have to understand more of what resides within us that's uncomfortable. There's a deep initiation in Scorpio season where we meet more of our shadow self, more of our subconscious, more of the parts of our power that are untapped and have been untouched. But the Persephone journey is one of empowerment where you claim it, you work with it, you own it. And all of that fills you up into new understandings of your own powerful wisdom, healing abilities, and divine connection to the God within. So here's the sun in Scorpio shining a light on your own hidden realms that are meant to serve you and support you. The third water sign of Pisces is where we find Saturn at 25 degrees of Pisces retrograde. Saturn will be stationing direct the end of the month, November 27th here. But the Saturn in Pisces journey is a movement from seeker to enlightenment, from servitude and disempowerment to full embodiment of yourself as a divine being. Saturn is serious, slow moving, has to plan ahead, be aware of the reality of life, the reality of your energy. There's a deep commitment to one's spiritual path with this Saturn in Pisces. And so Saturn is showing you how to stand on your own with your own enlightenment, to be in your own strength and sovereignty, where you surrender what isn't yours, but you fully own your divine spark, and you allow that to be a part of your energy field in the most beautiful ways. So here we have these three archetypes working together. The wisdom of the matriarch, the full embodiment of a Persephone who's returning from the underworld, and the maturity of the enlightened seeker who's tapping into what it's really about. And when we look at these three archetypes through this Water Grand Trine, again, it's flowing and very strong and powerful, especially when the sun shines its light of consciousness. There's potential here for you to understand how powerful you truly are in this lifetime, and that it's deeply altering you, it's deeply shifting you, and not allowing you to hold back the truth of your heart, the truth of who you are and what you need. And I feel too that this is elevating the feminine energies within all of us. Those divine feminine energy signatures are now in a powerful collaboration of deep connection. And what I'm feeling here with these three archetypes connecting and flowing, especially as we approach the Scorpio new moon, which is coming up on November 20th, you're going to see how you're designed to embody more of your divine feminine gifts, your intuition, your emotional power, your heart, your strength, and that healing is happening through the lens of the higher realms, which means it is a time for more compassion, for more self-forgiveness, for more kindness. Real healing and true growth comes from more love, being more loving, not less loving or more punishing, but to align yourself with these higher points of wisdom that the water signs hold. And that could be the overwhelm. That could be emotional flooding. That could be something that feels like it's overtaking you with this strong influence of all three water signs that is happening right now. And as I mentioned in previous podcasts, it actually goes into the first few weeks of December. This is the energy that is meant to newly form you. This is the energy that is tapping you in to more of the power you hold now. And so it's a surge of power that might look really different from what you thought or expected, or how you've even navigated your life up to this point. There is more power here in the emotional realms, in your intuition, in your heart space, in your feelings that you're meant to tap into. Because again, this is what is changing our frequencies. This is what is allowing us to be more fully embodied by wiping out the density and blockages of previous versions of ourselves. And I'm seeing this as how the Grand Canyon has been formed in shape because of the surge of water that has moved through it for millions of years. It's water that forms Earth. It's water that reshapes and reforms the rocks and boulders. And so over this span of time into the beginning of December or so, what is being powerfully reshaped and reformed within you that's changing you at a core level and also is changing your energy body, your emotional body. I'm seeing it as all 7 chakras are working with this. All 7 chakras are feeling this energy, although you might feel that there's 1 or 2 chakras that are the strongest for you that are being reworked. But I'm seeing it as these emotional upgrades coming through as the sun in Scorpio aligns with both Jupiter retrograde in Cancer and Saturn retrograde in Pisces. And because each of those planets, Jupiter and Saturn, are retrograde during this Water Grand Trine, it's inner work. It's your internal world that's really feeling this. And then we're going to have Mercury join this conversation again, November 19th. So after the sun moves through this Water Grand Trine, Mercury returns with new messages. Think of Mercury as being on a kayak or canoe as it returns to Scorpio and brings in new information and new understandings that you previously missed or overlooked, but now they land with more depth. They connect at a deeper level of your being. So again, Mercury enters this configuration November 19th. I will touch on that next Wednesday, November 19th, as that occurs. But just a heads up that this energy isn't going to cease. It isn't going to stop. It's going to keep moving through you because there's something really important that you're meant to feel. You're meant to really be in your emotions. And this could even feel like you're extra emo or that there's just a lot you're processing. And I want to confirm that's right on time. That's right on time. But make sure that this energy of this very strong water influence is ultimately guiding you into more kindness, more forgiveness, more compassion, and more love, whether that's for yourself and or others. But that's what this elevation is. How can we be more loving? How can we hold more love at this time during these big changes on the planet as we go through these new shifts that we've never been in before? The changing of the eras that we're in is a big deal, but how are we keeping pace with it at an individual level? How are we tracking with these changes in our hearts, in the softness of our ability to have compassion for one another and to not become detached from our own emotional core? And so maybe it helps to visualize these 3 archetypes that I mentioned and to see what they represent for you. Again, it was Jupiter in Cancer becoming the matriarch, the sun in Scorpio being that empowered Persephone, and Saturn in Pisces becoming that mature, enlightened being. maybe that speaks to you. Of course, only take it if it resonates, but there could be some more here that you feel comes through, especially if you were to visualize each of these archetypes either standing in front of you or working with your energy. Now, to bring in more heightened messages, we're going to have Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, sextiling Pluto in Aquarius at 1 degree for the second time on November 17th. So this is the second time that Mercury in Sag is connecting with Pluto in Aquarius. And there's new realizations here around where you want to go next in your life. And that can seem very big and overwhelming at times. But Mercury is moving slowly in this retrograde, giving you time to integrate and process what that next level vision could be, how the pieces can come together, what you need to bring about a true plan. This is a review. This is a time of sitting with it before Mercury makes that third and final sextile to Pluto around the middle of December. So you might find that you're really thinking through, what are my goals and plans for next year? But not just next year. What is changing deeply and permanently in my life where I'm expanding my vision of what's possible? And I can allow that to be a guiding force. I can feel the inspiration of what I could move towards next. All of this is part of what we're in, the depths of November here, where it's like there's a lot we're working through and contemplating in order to ensure that we're in alignment with our best possible choices, especially into 2026. It is that big. And it's not just you, in case that's validating. Now, Mercury is going to re-enter Scorpio November 18th. And so this is where Mercury retrograde re-enters the Scorpio realms and will be an important part of the Scorpio new moon on November 20th. Now, I do have a video for you on YouTube discussing that Scorpio new moon chart to give you some insight into what is coming alive during that time. It is a very dynamic Scorpio new moon. So please check out that astrology chart as I go into what that could be for you more specifically, and I'll talk about it next Wednesday too. But overall, there's a lot within us that is shifting, that we're meant to be contemplating and deeply reconsidering. You might find there's things in your life you're absolutely done with. You're just done. You're complete. It holds no interest for you. Your energy doesn't resonate with it. You're ready to make some more drastic changes at this time because that's what you're feeling. The strong influence of the water signs that I've been discussing is basically guiding us through our own personal Grand Canyon here, helping you carve out a new direction or a new way forward that is going to gain strength in December after the intensity of some of these retrogrades let up a bit. But right now, the focus is on going into the depths of your energy layers, looking at what has been tangled up and intertwined, understanding that what has anchored you down is opening up at this time. It can flow in this energy of the Water Grand Trine. It can be released and evolve you internally and further support how you're embodying more self-empowerment and also feeling set free from the past, free from a previous version of yourself, free from old limitations or an outdated belief system that has kept you from progressing. There's a lot of movement internally right now. So trust what that feels like for you. And as I say that, I'm also getting pulled back into what I mentioned at the beginning of the show around how we're feeling the intensity from the sun at this time. You might need more time to yourself. You might need more grounding practices that allow you to feel calm and centered amongst the storm of energies. You might realize your eating habits are changing. Your sleep patterns are off. It can be harder to regulate at times because of all the extremes and the spikes in the energy. The energy is very spiky at this time, but it feels like there's also a lot of divine support for the forward movement, the new wisdom, and honoring what your soul is seeing, what your soul's eyes are seeing at this time that is jolting you awake and jolting you into what really matters for you in this lifetime. I just feel like some people are getting some really core messages here that are permanently changing you, permanently altering what you thought life was about or what you thought mattered. And it's coming from, again, the emotional body. And I meant to share that when I was looking at this Water Grand Trine and the powerful movement that is flowing through, the water I'm seeing is very sparkly, very crystalline and pure. It doesn't look muddy or dirty or heavy at all. It looks like it's just this very high vibrational water that feels really healthy, fresh, clear, healing, because it's already been filtered and purified. So I offer that as something to sit with and consider if this is resonating with you. And keep in mind that part of this movement might be supporting you in whatever you realized from that Taurus full moon last week, back on November 5th. That Taurus full moon maybe illuminated some things for you to understand. And now we have the supportive movement, clearing and healing that's coming through, and of course guiding us to the Scorpio new moon on November 20th. So for those of you who work with the lunar cycle intentionally, that might help you track what you are moving through. Now, as I look ahead at what is going on here over the next at least month or so, there's a lot of transits in the works. There's a lot happening with the planets and how they're communicating with each other. And this is just understanding how the transiting planets are talking to each other, which is not taking into consideration how the transiting planets are working with your natal chart. So in other words, there could be a lot going on right now, especially if you have planets in the water signs, even in the earth signs. So what I wanted to offer you was an opportunity to understand this more specifically for yourself by doing some live workshops focusing on astrology transits of right now. So I'm going to be offering this as a live experience in December, where we're going to discuss astrology transits and how to look for them in your own chart. This is great if you are a beginner or if you're ready to take your astrology knowledge to the next level, because I'm going to teach you how each planet moves, how each transiting planet moves around your chart. Then we're going to discuss these energies more specifically for 3 weeks in a row. We will meet live for 90-minute workshops. I will teach, and then we will do Q&A. And this will help you understand all of these dynamic energies moving around your chart, because transits become complicated and there's questions that come up. People are trying to understand, well, which transit is the most important? What do I have to prioritize and be aware of that's happening in my chart? Let's say you're looking at a lot going on with the outer planets. So which one is most important for you? We'll discuss that. Maybe you're looking at your chart and you're not seeing what's affecting you. You can't identify the transit. Or you're looking at your chart and thinking, there's not a lot going on for me right now. What does that mean? So I will be available to answer more of your questions and have these important conversations that I hope supports many of you in understanding how to be your own astrologer for your own chart, how to take the energy of right now, apply it to your chart, and be able to interpret and decipher the energies more specifically. Because as you know, not only am I passionate about astrology, but I want to ensure that you have the best ways of using this for yourself. Astrology is ours. It's for all of us to use on our path and incorporate into our world as needed, right? So I hope this gives you a way to understand more of what's going on for you. So I will put details about this new workshop below the podcast. Yes, there are limited spots as always, but I hope that this works for you at this time, especially as we prepare for the shifts and changes that we're moving into in 2026. So this is going to be called Learn Astrology Transits in Your Chart with live workshops, specifically 3 live workshops. Of course, replays will be available, and I look forward to answering your questions as well. So please check that out and hopefully grab a spot before they sell out. And as always, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for another episode to continue to navigate these energies together. As always, thank you so much for your time, energy, and presence. I am grateful for you. I'm grateful for your messages, your comments, your subscribes, your likes, everything that you share with others as well. Thank you so much for everything you bring to this community and what we are beautifully co-creating together. Wishing you a beautiful journey through this portion of Scorpio season, and we'll connect again soon. Take good care.